Once he opened the door and set foot in the inn, a pleasant smell drifted his way. There seemed to be a dining hall in the back of the waiting room. Conaway turned, debating on dropping in, but he hesitated at the sound of lively laughter. Naturally, this must have been where other inn guests gathered. However, Conaway felt shy when coming into contact with other cats, and he eventually decided to return to his room. Bardo wasn't at the reception desk, but the words, "Dinner is being prepared," were written in the lodging book. There was just a note that the other business would have to wait for a while. Bardo did the cooking himself? Conway recalled his carefree attitude. It was so unexpected of Bardo. Conway was ascending the stairs to the second floor when he suddenly stopped his feet. He was lost in thought for a moment, but he eventually dragged himself back and left the inn. For some reason, he didn't feel like returning to his room. To be more precise, he just didn't want to meet Rei or Sato. Leaving the entryway and turning around to the back of the house, Conway started to quickly climb a tree growing next to the inn. He jumped down to the roof of the inn, then scooted down until he was at the edge and took a seat. A strong wind brushed against his cheek and blew past. The rancid nightscape opened up under his eyes, and the forest surrounded the town like an endless black ring with no end in sight. Because of the festival, Rancid was still lively even at night. He could even feel traces of the daytime hustle and bustle. Exhaling a small sigh, Conaway narrowed his eyes to look to the forest and the endless sky. He didn't want to meet Rei, or even Asato. It wasn't because he didn't like them. Conaway was just at a loss. Until now, he had been just a normal cat, living an ordinary life in Kaoru. Conaway felt a slight pain. He had wanted things the way they were before. For now, he had to leave all those ordinary things behind. Conaway had forgotten nothing, and everything up until now hadn't turned out the way he wanted. He wanted to forget it all. Suddenly, Conaway succumbed to these kinds of thoughts. However, he understood. These thoughts, it wouldn't take much to escape them. But it wasn't over yet. There were still many unsolved mysteries. If he stopped here, the story would be strange and unclear. And that was surely why it would begin from here. The story is getting started, guys. It's starting now. Something would. These kinds of ominous thoughts rushed through his head. Conaway swayed his tail widely. While he half held an intuition that convinced him otherwise, he hoped it was just an imaginary fear. Just now, he suddenly remembered the cume fruits he had received from Tokeno, and took one out of his flax bag to pop it in his mouth. The sour sweetness began to gradually blur on the tip of Conaway's tongue, giving him slight relief and resolve. Running away would change nothing. Eventually, Conaway would have no other choice than to stand up and fight in the end. He felt it from his experiences so far. He could avert his eyes, but something important would slip away. Therefore, slowly standing up and taking a deep breath, Conaway made up his mind to go back to the room. Returning to the inn, he went up the stairs to the second floor. As he proceeded down the hallway, he passed the door on the right side that led to his and Asato's room. He gripped the doorknob and pushed the door open. The room Konoe entered into was pitch black. Konoe took out the guiding leaf from his flax bag and opened the lid of the water basin set at his feet. When he gently dipped it in and pulled it back out, the leaf immediately emitted a glowing light. Relying on this light, Konoe looked around while using it as a guide. Small dishes had been put on the shelves near the bed. Stepping forward and taking one in his hand, Konoe scooped water from the water basin and let the leaf fall gently inside. He wanted to use fire as little as possible. In the moment he felt relief, Konoe suddenly sensed a presence to his immediate side and jumped. The fur on his tail bristled on end all at once. "Welcome back." Konoe was so surprised that he had instinctively drawn his claws to lash out. The owner of this voice was Asato. Did he completely conceal his presence? Konoe hadn't noticed him at all. "Your presence! You made it disappear. You startled me." Sorry. I didn't mean to. It's an old habit." "Habit?" "In Kira, when the moon of shadow was high in the sky, I erased all traces of my presence throughout the village, as much as I could. This was the law." To Asato's mind, the village of Kira was the entire world. Its laws were completely ingrained into him. However, it was different now. "I'm sure you must take certain precautions to protect yourself, but this is Ranson, Asato, not Kira. You've left your village, so you don't have to do that whenever you're together with me, because it startles me." Okay," Asato said with a slight sigh, his ears lowering. "I didn't say it because it was bad, just don't feel so down." Giving a little smile at Asato's look, Konoe sat on the bed near the wall. Fishing around in the bag he held in his hand, he took out the cumes he received from Tokuno and handed one to Asato. "I was given these. Have one." Thanks." Asato was happy as he took a seat on the bed by the window across from Konoe, beginning to nibble at the fruit. As his slender black tail slowly swayed, he began to purr. Konoe was a little bashful, wondering why he was so happy. "Is it good?" "Yeah." "Good." Looking at Asato made him feel a warm feeling, and Konoe laughed, loosening the tension in his shoulders. "It may be alright." Konoe thought this suddenly. He, who was still a Kaoru cat, could never return home. However, maybe everything would be alright. He had no reason or grounds to feel this way, and he might still have to fight against something, but he merely felt this, vaguely. The following morning was lively, probably because it was the first day of Antau. Even with the window closed, the music and the noise still seemed to seep into the room, and Konoe's ears constantly swiveled in all directions. It was the first time he'd heard so much noise, and for some reason he felt a little uncomfortable. While he sat on the bed and groomed his arm, he shook his tail many times. As for Asato, he seemed just as ill at ease with this noise as Konoe. He sat with his back leaning against the bed. The tip of his tail swaying, Asato's ears moved busily, seeming to constantly pick up sounds from every direction. His tense line of vision was firmly focused on the window. Konoe wondered how the Ranson festival looked to Asato, who had never left the village of Kira. "Does Kira have a festival like this?" When he spoke up to him, Asato stiffly looked over to Konoe. His nervous appearance was a little funny. There was one in Kira too, but the village cats that went out were quieter. They weren't this noisy." "Are you surprised?" Asato nodded meekly, and once again his gaze returned outside of the window. Although Konoe was also surprised at seeing the festival for the first time, when he watched Asato, he felt like showing him around outside. The more things he saw, the more amazed he would be, and Konoe wanted Asato to know that there was more to the world than just Kira. "Hey, how about we go out together today?" His ears quivering with a twitch, Asato looked back at Konoe. Me and you?" "Yeah, let's take a look around the festival." Asato's face took on an expression that was hard to describe, and his ears lowered slightly. He was probably at a loss. But Konoe was aware of that when he asked him. "If you don't want to, I'm not going to force you, okay?" No. I'll go." Like it was a grave decision, Asato looked straight ahead at Konoe and slowly nodded. "It'll be okay. You don't have to be so tense. I'm sure it'll be really fun." I see." After getting dressed, Konoe left the room with Asato. "Well, since we're going on a date with him, I think it's safe to assume we're on Asato's route." Then the door to the room just to their right opened, and Rei stepped out. Rei gave Konoe and Asato a fleeting look with his blue eye, then turned for the stairs like nothing happened. Following behind him, Konoe's group went down the stairs. When they went to the waiting room, Konoe involuntarily froze at the scene before his eyes, stunned. What in the world was this? There, they wore strange masks and costumes. It was full of shady, suspicious-looking cats. Strange. Asato thought the same thing, his expression becoming tense. Are they dressed like this for Antau? They're costumes. Rei didn't look very surprised in particular, and he surveyed the waiting room with a composed gaze. When he heard about a festival, Konoe imagined something glamorous, but the image he had of the showy festival was completely wrong. If anything, everyone was dressed just like that shaman. These cats and their restless laughter were strange. Well, shucks, what do you think you're doing stopping there? Come on down. When Konoe heard that relaxed, deep voice and looked around, he saw Bardo looking up at them from amidst the costumed cats. Or maybe, more accurately, Rei frowned and clicked his tongue. When he went down the stairs to the waiting room, Konoe saw the costume cats up close and became more and more nervous. There was some kind of strange intensity about them. How'd the bed feel? Did you sleep well? Today's the first day of Antau. It's getting pretty exciting. Bardo approached with steps as leisurely as his voice. Rei completely turned away. This is absolutely incredible. Everyone looks amazing. This is a tradition. I've participated ever since I arrived in Ranson. Two games seem those toucans seem to have done something like this too. Huh? Stepping in the middle of his words, Bardo looked at Asato. Oh, there are three of you? You're the third of the group? Asato, who was bad with interacting with other people, lowered his head in caution with a jerk of his chin, and stood vigilantly on guard. Well, I'm Bardo, the owner of this inn. I'm Asato. Asato, when the heck did you get in here? I was definitely at the reception desk for all of yesterday and today, and I don't remember seeing you enter at all. It's like you came in on the rooftop like some kind of Batman. Not minding Asato's attitude of pulling away a bit, Bardo cocked his head and cast his gaze on him. The window. I came in the window. The window? The window. You came in through the window. I came in. I did. Well, I see. Bardo had a dumbfounded look on his face for a moment, but then he looked down and nodded, as if he were overwhelmed by Asato's calm assertions. Okay, whatever. The time of this festival is when you can put everything aside and enjoy yourselves. Are you guys going to disguise yourselves too? Conway was at a loss for words at the question. He wanted to excuse himself, if possible. Do we absolutely have to do that? Nope, but I can lend you some costumes. You just have to ask. I think it's fun to blend in with a festival like that, so how about it? Though he wanted to object to the fun part, it did sound good. Konaway involuntarily looked to Rei and Asato. As if he was fatigued by all the noise, Asato just stared blankly. And Rei, needless to say, was turned in the entirely opposite direction. It's way too hectic. Huh, I see. Well, whenever you feel like it, just let me know. You should try to get to the main street. Because of the festival, you'll see plenty of costumes and rancid specialities. Come on, it'll be fun. Just enjoy yourself. Yeah. Bardo lightly raised one hand, then moved to the back of the reception desk with his long tail trailing behind him. When his nemesis vanished, Rei exhaled sharply. Konaway. When Konaway turned at the call, he saw Asato's face slightly clouded in both confusion and agitation. Are you going to the street? That's what I intend to do for now. Asato, what are you going to do? Follow. He was probably tired just thinking of the busy streets. His voice was low, so Konaway wondered if he was upset. Rei sighed for the umpteenth time and turned, walking towards the entryway. Hey! Or, hey! Or, I don't know. Let's see. What? What are you doing after this? Oh, I got those fucked up. Hey! What? What are you doing after this? Without replying to Konaway's question, Rei left the inn. Konaway reflexively ran after him. I'm still not sure whose route we're on. If we're on anyone's route at all. As soon as they went out the door, Konaway's hair bristled. When they were in the inn, loud noises and music flowed in like waves. Now, it was like the floodgates had been opened to that stream. A frenzy of excitement struck his skin vividly. He felt a flutter in his stomach as evidence of his increasing enthusiasm. He gasped and swallowed. Like Bardo said, there were definitely many cats who changed into costumes. Happy Halloween! And there were groups, too. With dark colors befitting a winter festival, the atmosphere could even have been called evil. The music brought on a strange air rather than a cheerful one. Konaway was surprised by the festival itself, but what overwhelmed him above all was its influence on the cats. Usually the streets were filled with cats coming and going, but now the individuals were warm and united. Feelings of delight welled up so much they threatened to burst forth, beating on the door of Konaway's empathy. Even though he restrained himself, it forcibly bore down on him. It may have been the first time he felt such strong empathy for something other than anger or sorrow. His tail trembled at its base. Gazing through the street's liveliness, he realized that Ray's figure was nowhere to be seen. Ray. He glanced around. Nowhere to be found. He didn't see Asato either. His surroundings were filled with festive cats. He seemed to have gotten lost again. Oh god, we've lost the boyfriends. Seized with intense self-loathing and worry, Konaway quietly clicked his tongue. He had this issue for a long time. Even though he was a cat, he was completely out of touch with his sense of direction. Ah yes, hapless protagonist. Excellent. He was about to return to the inn when the crowd of cats started to move. They cleared out the middle of the street, perhaps for a parade. Konaway wasn't strong enough to fight his way through that flow. He was forced to walk away from the inn. He looked around in bewilderment, trying to see if he could find Ray or Asato. And that was when he drew near a back alleyway. A hand extended from behind and covered his mouth. Hoping to reunite with Ray and Asato, Konaway hadn't sensed this other presence at all. Konaway tried to resist, but he was forcibly dragged away. Looking over his shoulder, he saw the darkness of an alleyway. The streaming cats of the festival paid no attention to the small struggle at the edge of the road. Oh god. Oh god. That's not good.